The candles on my 37th birthday cake flickered like tiny warning signals, but I was too stupid to read them. Jazz stood at the head of our dining room table, champagne glass raised, her perfect smile gleaming under our crystal chandelier. Our friends, well, her friends mostly, sat around the mahogany table I'd bought with my school district IT manager salary, waiting for whatever speech she'd prepared. "Before we eat this gorgeous cake," Jazz announced, her voice carrying that theatrical quality she used at her event planning company, "I have a special birthday present for my darling husband Simon." I should have run. Instead, I sat there like an idiot, fork halfway to my mouth, wondering why Tessa was smirking and Wes, Jazz's business partner, looked like he was suppressing laughter. "New rules for Simon," Jazz declared, pulling out a folded paper from her purse. "Rule 1, home by 9 on weeknights, 11 on weekends. Rule 2, phone stays in the kitchen charging station after 8 p.m. Rule 3, no more privacy settings on social media. We're married. We share everything." The table erupted in applause. Carla actually clapped her hands like a trained seal. Megan looked uncomfortable, shifting in her chair. Dave, my only real friend in this crowd, stared at his plate like he wanted to disappear. "Isn't that sweet?" Tessa gushed. "Finally, some accountability." My fork clinked against the plate as I set it down. The room went quiet, except for the grandfather clock ticking in the corner, a wedding gift from Jazz's parents, who'd never thought I was good enough for their precious daughter. "Did I just get married again or join a cult?" I asked, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. Jazz's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Oh, Simon, don't be dramatic. These are just guidelines to help our marriage." I stood up. The chair scraped against the hardwood floor with a sound like fingernails on a chalkboard. "Our marriage is over." The room froze. Even the clock seemed to stop ticking. "What?" Jazz's face went pale beneath her carefully applied makeup. "Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories." You heard me. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. "See, while you were making your little rules, I was documenting your lies. Like this text thread with Wes about your late-night strategy sessions at the Marriott downtown." Wes choked on his wine. "Simon, that's not—" "Oh, we're just getting started, golden boy." I swiped to the next screenshot. "Or this lovely thank you note you left in our bathroom last Tuesday. Thanks for an amazing night. Can't wait for next time." Real subtle, Wes. Jazz tried to grab my phone, but I held it out of reach. "And Tessa, since you're so interested in accountability, want to explain why you've been covering for them? I have your texts too." Tessa's face crumpled. "Simon, I'm sorry. I didn't want to—" "Save it." I turned back to Jazz, who was gripping the edge of the table so hard her knuckles were white. "You want rules? Here's mine. You're fired from Walker Digital Solutions. You can't fire me from my own company. Actually, I can. Funny thing about those papers you never read before signing, I own 60%. You know, the company you thought was just your little side project, the one that's been funding your lifestyle while you planned to push me out." The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Dave finally spoke up. "Jesus, Jazz. Simon's been nothing but good to you." "This is insane," Wes stammered, standing up so fast his chair toppled backward. "You're having some kind of breakdown." I laughed, and even I could hear how cold it sounded. "The only thing breaking down is your little scheme. See, I've been busy these past few months. While you two were playing house, I was buying out Jazz's business shares. Turns out, when someone's cheating on their spouse, they get careless with paperwork." Jazz's face went from pale to green. "What are you talking about?" "Event Horizons, your precious event planning company? I now own 45%. Your investors weren't too happy when I showed them the financial irregularities." mixing personal and business expenses, using company funds for hotel rooms. I shrugged. They were very interested in protecting their investment. Megan cleared her throat softly. Maybe we should go, she suggested, but nobody moved. Oh, don't leave yet, I said, warming to the subject. We haven't gotten to the best part. Jazz, remember that business loan you took out last month? The one you forged my signature on? Her eyes went wide. I didn't forge anything. Electronic signatures are tricky things, especially when someone uses their spouse's laptop without permission. Lucky for me, everything's logged. I pocketed my phone and grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair. You've got until tomorrow to move out. Don't worry about the locks. I'm changing them tonight. The next morning, I sat in my office at Roosevelt High School, watching the parking lot through my window. My assistant knocked and peeked in. Mr. Walker? There's a Wes Hanley here to see you. Says it's urgent. Send him in, Patricia. This should be entertaining. Wes strutted into my office like he owned the place, all 6 feet of manufactured confidence in his expensive suit. His black Range Rover was parked in the visitor's spot, gleaming in the morning sun. Simon, we need to talk. Man to man. I leaned back in my chair, fingers steepled. I'm listening. This whole thing is getting out of hand. Jazz is devastated. Maybe we can work something out. You mean like you and Jazz worked something out behind my back for 8 months? His jaw tightened. Look, these things happen. People grow apart. But there's no reason to destroy everyone's livelihood over it. Destroy? I stood up slowly. Wes, I haven't even gotten started. 20 minutes later, we were in the parking lot. Wes had made the mistake of getting aggressive, poking his finger at my chest while making threats about lawyers and harassment charges. That's when I'd suggested we take our conversation outside. You think you're so smart, he snarled, backing toward his precious Range Rover. But Jazz and I, we had plans. Real plans. Not some small-time IT operation and a failing marriage. Had plans, I repeated. Past tense. I like that. I pulled out a small spray bottle from my jacket pocket, the kind teachers use for cleaning whiteboards. Except this one was filled with washable paint mixed with biodegradable glitter. What the? I sprayed Home Wrecker across his windshield in bright pink letters, each one sparkling in the sunlight. Try cheating with your own wife next time, Wes. He lunged at me, but I sidestepped. 37 years old, and I still had reflexes from my high school wrestling days. He stumbled, catching himself against the car door. You're insane! Maybe, but I'm not the one who's about to explain to his insurance company why his car looks like a unicorn exploded on it. A crowd of teachers had gathered near the school entrance, drawn by the commotion. Mrs. Henderson from the math department was taking pictures with her phone. By lunch, this would be all over social media. Wes climbed into his glittery Range Rover, cursing under his breath as he tried to see through the painted windshield. The engine roared to life, and he peeled out of the parking lot, leaving rainbow sparkles scattered across the asphalt. My phone buzzed. A text from Dave. Dude, you're trending on Facebook. Glitter revenge. 3 weeks later, I was putting the finishing touches on my masterpiece. Jazz had been living in a cramped apartment downtown, her credit cards maxed out, most of her friends avoiding her calls. Wes had tried to start his own event planning business, but word travels fast in our industry. Nobody wanted to work with a homewrecker, but they weren't done. Megan had been feeding me information. Apparently, she'd grown tired of Jazz's manipulation years ago. According to her, Jazz and Wes were planning one last desperate move, breaking into my house to steal the evidence I'd gathered. They think you keep everything on your home computer, Megan had explained over coffee. Jazz told Tessa you're paranoid about cloud storage. I smiled, remembering that conversation. Jazz was right. I was paranoid. That's why everything was backed up in 3 different locations, with copies stored in my safety deposit box. The doorbell rang at exactly 9:30 p.m. I checked the security monitor I'd installed last week. Jazz stood on my front porch, alone, wearing the blue dress she knew I used to love. I opened the door but left the chain latched. "What do you want, Jazz?" "Can we talk, please? I know I messed up, but maybe we can work this out." Through the security camera feed on my phone, I could see Wes crouched behind the garden shed, waiting for his cue. They really thought I was that stupid. "Fine," I said, unlocking the chain. "But make it quick." Jazz stepped inside, and I caught a whiff of her perfume, the expensive stuff she'd bought with company funds. She moved toward the living room, her eyes darting around like she was cataloging everything. "Simon, I know you're hurt, but what we had was real. Don't you miss it? Don't you miss us?" She moved closer, reaching out to touch my arm. That was the signal. I heard the back door rattle as Wes tried his lockpicks, skills he'd apparently learned from YouTube videos, according to Megan's intelligence. "You know what I miss, Jazz?" I said, loud enough for the hidden microphones to pick up clearly. "I miss trusting my wife. I miss believing that the woman I married actually loved me, instead of just seeing me as a meal ticket." The back door opened with a soft click. Wes was inside. Jazz's performance was Academy Award worthy. Tears welled up in her eyes as she pressed against me. "We can start over. New rules for both of us. Real ones this time." "New rules," I repeated. "I like that idea." I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. Every light in the house blazed on simultaneously. The security system's voice boomed through hidden speakers. "Intruder detected. Authorities have been notified. This area is under surveillance." Wes crashed into something in the kitchen, probably the chair I'd strategically placed in his path. "What's happening?" Jazz gasped, but her eyes weren't surprised enough. She'd known this was a possibility. "New rule number 1, I announced. No more lies." The living room's hidden cameras whirred to life, their red recording lights blinking like angry eyes. I'd borrowed them from the school's drama department. Perks of being the IT guy. New rule number 2, actions have consequences. Wes stumbled into the living room, clutching his shin. "This is entrapment. Actually, it's just good planning." I gestured to the cameras. "Say hello to the internet, folks. We're live streaming to my social media accounts. Current viewer count is," I checked my phone, 237 people. "Hi, Mom." Jazz's face contorted with rage. "You can't do this." New rule number 3, I continued. Privacy is earned, not stolen. The live stream viewer count hit 500 as Jazz and Wes realized the scope of their humiliation. My phone was buzzing with comments and shares. Dave had texted, "This is better than Netflix." "You want to know what's really funny?" I said, addressing both them and the camera. "You two thought you were so clever. The affair, the business manipulation, the plan to steal my evidence tonight. But you forgot one thing." "What?" Wes spat, still rubbing his shin. "I'm smarter than you." I walked to the mantelpiece and picked up a thick folder. "See, while you were planning your little heist, I was planning something better. Jazz, remember your friend Tessa? The one who's been covering for you?" Jazz's face went white. "She's been working with me for weeks. Every plan, every scheme, every pathetic attempt at manipulation. She's been reporting back to me." I opened the folder and pulled out printed screenshots, including tonight's brilliant strategy session at the coffee shop this afternoon. The live stream comments were exploding. Someone had shared it to the local community Facebook page. The viewer count was approaching 1,000. "And Megan," I continued, "she's been documenting your behavior for months. Turns out watching you treat people like garbage got old fast." Jazz lunged for the folder, but I held it out of reach. We're not done with the show yet." I pressed another button on my phone. The sound system crackled to life, and Wes's voice filled the room. His panicked phone call to Jazz from 3 weeks ago, recorded by my security system when he'd called from my driveway. "He's ruining me, Jazz. He's everywhere. The bank won't extend our loan, the suppliers won't work with us, and now everyone thinks I'm some kind of predator." Jazz's recorded voice responded, "Just stick to the plan. We get the evidence, destroy it, and then we sue him for harassment. My lawyer says we can take everything. The live stream exploded with angry face emojis and comments calling them every name in the book. Well, every name that wasn't blocked by the platform's filters. The best part, I said, grinning at the cameras, is that breaking and entering is still a crime, even when you're really, really bad at it. Sirens wailed in the distance, not because I'd called the police, but because Mrs. Henderson from next door had seen suspicious figures in my backyard and called it in herself. Jazz made one last desperate play. Simon, please. We can still fix this. I'll leave Wes. We can go to counseling. Jazz, I interrupted. There's one more thing you should know. What? I never loved you. Not really. I loved the person I thought you were, but that person never existed, did she? The police cars pulled into my driveway, their red and blue lights painting the living room walls like a disco. Through the window, I could see neighbors gathering on the sidewalk, drawn by the commotion and probably the live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced to the camera, that's a wrap on this episode of Cheaters Get Consequences. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I ended the stream as the police knocked on the door. Jazz and Wes were about to have a very uncomfortable conversation with Officer Martinez about why they were in my house uninvited at 10 p.m. As I walked to answer the door, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. For the first time in months, I was smiling. Really smiling. Happy birthday to me. Next year, I'm asking for socks.